Hello, I'm Jonasz Rewiński and you are watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you everything you need to know. Blink and you'll miss it. That's probably the best tagline for America's foray into Venezuela. It took just over 2 hours for the Donald J. Trump Dictator Removal Service to drag Nicolás Maduro out of his bed. Never thought the Don would be branching out from real estate into regime change, but no hard feelings, honestly, unless you're based in Moscow. And we'll get to that, but first, some basic facts. At around 2 a.m. local time on Saturday, explosions and low-flying aircraft were heard in the capital of Venezuela, Caracas. A few hours later, US President Donald Trump announced on his social media platform Truth Social that Maduro and his wife had been captured and taken out of the country. They really did speedrun this military action right there. Bit like one of those YouTube videos where you speedrun through Doom Eternal in about an hour, except instead of a Steam achievement, you get a real-life dictator as a trophy. Now, Nicolás Maduro has been charged with drug and terrorism conspiracy, conspiracy to import cocaine, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, and conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices against the United States. End of quote, by the way, that's legal language there. Also, in the first post-capture picture, the one where he is in a tracksuit, he looks positively like Dr. Disrespect, who's a controversial streamer and YouTuber for those of you who don't really know. So I say, add identity theft to the list of charges. Also, who would expect the dictator to become a style icon following his capture? I mean, the memes are just amazing. Anyway, Maduro apparently ignored his right to remain silent since he wished everybody a Happy New Year upon arrival. Well, at least he didn't sing or dance. He does that, you know. Guess he saw the former Turkmenistan president do his rap routine and became a bit jealous. I guess torturing people with cringe is part and parcel of being a tyrant, but never mind that. Now, the world's reaction was divided along classic lines. Ukraine declared its support for the Venezuelan people and the need to respect international law, human rights and democratic principles. The people of Venezuela have a chance for a normal life, said a statement from Kiev. Moscow and Minsk, on the other hand, unanimously condemned what they called American aggression. Yeah, Russia and Belarus lecturing others about aggression. Like Alexander Lukashenko called the events an unacceptable encroachment on sovereignty. How would he know? He handed his own sovereignty over to Putin ages ago and now keeps his nukes on his own driveway. Let's face it though, Lukashenko is nothing compared to the narrative coming out of Moscow. The Russian Foreign Ministry, for example, they said something about conditions for resolving any issues between the US and Venezuela through dialogue. Because of course, Russia is all about dialogue. It's not like they invaded a foreign country over 10 years ago and then came back to invade again in 2022 and commit war crimes there, right? But classic Kremlin hypocrisy aside, they have their reasons for being super salty about all this. Nicolás Maduro being snatched by the Americans like a low-level Pokemon in the wild is a geopolitical blow to the Kremlin, which is now losing a key partner and facing a threat to its oil revenues. Moscow is losing an important chess piece in its power play, but also whatever remains of its credibility in terms of arms deliveries. I mean, let's check the KD ratio for the Russian air defenses. 150 American planes and helicopters. One hit. One. And that was not even a kill. The helicopter ended up limping back to base with 0 casualties. This and the embarrassing footage of Russian air defense systems reduced to burning wreckage in Caracas. And don't even get me started on the number of memes about Russians looking with envy upon this special military operation. The US Army did in 2 hours what Putin hasn't been able to accomplish in Ukraine for over a decade. 33,864 hours. Since invading Ukraine back in 2022, Vlad is still stuck in Donetsk. The Venezuela situation is a live-action version of The Simpsons' "That's how you do it" meme. staring Putin right in the face there. Also, the likes of Cuba and Iran are getting a bit uncomfortable, because once you catch one authoritarian Pokemon, you gotta catch them all, right? Russia, of course, demands Trump let Maduro go, but then again, what for? To settle in next to Viktor Yanukovych and Bashar al-Assad in Moscow, make a little hippie commune there, except one comprised of only fallen dictators? Soon there could be enough of them to give the Kremlin a migrant problem. Okay, so there is this old saying about not kicking someone while they're down, but this time we don't really care. Let's all sit down together and watch a classic case of this one aged like milk. It's Russian propaganda, so you might say it does that, but believe me, you ain't seen nothing yet. Want to see how a Russian expert predicted what would happen with Venezuela back in December? Spoiler alert, his predictions were like the wildest fan theories for Stranger Things Season 5. None of them came true. If you like Russian narratives falling apart in spectacular fashion, this one's for you.
Вот на примере Венесуэлы, причем можно рассуждать, я уверен, что здесь у Индии может быть очень интересная перспектива. Вот Мадуро, он же правильное решение принял. Он начал опираться на Россию. Много публично не скажешь. Ну, давайте скажем так обтекаемо. Если бы не Россия, сейчас Венесуэла бы пылала. Вот я это совершенно ответственно заявляю. Мы много сделали для того, чтобы в Венесуэле мир сохранился. И чтобы сегодня Трамп позвонил и так, знаете, задушевно, по-братски поговорил с Мадуро. А почему? А потому что он понял, что играть с нами сейчас уже просто невозможно. Вот так вот. Обманывая, виляя хвостом, создавая какие-то схемы. Все, закончилось это время. Мы приняли решение, мы не дали американцам разнести Венесуэлу. Как мы это сделали? Ну вот когда-то об этом снимут фильмы, об этом напишут книги. Сейчас это секрет. Но поверьте, сделано блестяще. Сделано людьми, которые получили реальный боевой опыт в ходе ведения специальной военной операции. Сделано фантастически круто. И делали заранее, потому что была развединформация. И подготовились так, что Трамп тык-мык, вывел флот и понял, что этот флот утонет в ближайшие 1,5-2 часа после начала активных боевых действий. Просто утонет. И никакие ракеты его не спасут. И ничего это не решит.
Oh, there's so much to unpack here. First, the idea of Russia saving an autocrat from being toppled. Bashar al-Assad would like a word with you, and we've already mentioned the brilliant accuracy of Russian air defense systems, but don't you just love the deadpan self-confidence of the man when he says Trump's fleet would sink within 2 hours after hostilities started? Bro, within 2 hours the hostilities were over and done with. Russia might as well have sold Caracas a shipment of Nerf guns. But then, he already said it. This whole brilliant defense setup was done by people who served in the Russian Special Military Operation, read war. So, who was on that dream team? My guess is definitely the sailors from the Moskva, the Chornobaivka landing team, the Special Forces units from the Battle for Hostomel Airport, the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone trench digging crew, and whoever does the air defense for Russia's refineries. But the Russian TV guy was right on at least 2 counts. First, they will definitely be making movies about this, just not the way he had imagined. And second, Trump talking to Maduro in that soulful, brotherly way. Well, not Trump personally, he had Delta Force do it for him. The words in question were probably rise and shine. Some very strange things happened out there in Caracas, you see. Russia promised the weapons would turn the world upside down, but in the end, Maduro and his army ended up just like Vecna and the Demogorgons all over again. And with this, we conclude this episode of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.